Welcome to the Essence of Homeschooling podcast, brought to you by the umbrella school, Start Academy. We empower and equip you to cultivate the authentic homeschool lifestyle where freedom and relationships rule.
So continuing with our little series about accommodations and modifications, last time we talked more about accommodations, and today we're going to talk a little bit more about modifications. Just as a quick recap, accommodations are how the student learns material, and modifications are what the student is learning and how they show what they know. Modifications are definitely different. They impact the curriculum and the expectations, because kids are not expected to learn the same material as their peers necessarily. Accommodations are adjustments for how they learn. Modifications change what a child learns.
Mm-hmm. And the modifications are really about those who are differently abled or with severe learning struggles, or even just behind the curve. They will catch up, but they just need more time. And again, we can't tell you enough how beautiful homeschooling is, because you are allowed to adjust everything for the learning needs of your child. And that's what's beautiful. Hopefully we can give you some ideas of modifications today that will encourage and empower you to love on your kid better and better. Continue to love on them well and raise them up to enjoy learning, but also understand their limitations that we all have.
It's a lot easier in the lower grades that we're talking about this time. Upper grades, you have to think about things like transcripts and all that business. But in the lower grades, when you're really setting foundations and you're teaching your kids to love to learn and how to learn, and you're building those relationships, again, that essence of homeschooling, there's really so much more freedom that you can just relax into this homeschool lifestyle and know it's really important to us that you know that this is okay. This is okay in these things.
Because you do still want academic standards, because
Right.
education is a gift you give your children, but it won't look the same. But again, not every family looks the same anyway. There's beauty in each unique family and in each unique child. And so with these, sometimes in the public school setting or private school setting, they may actually be in a different classroom for different subjects. Like Kim and I were chatting earlier about different reading groups. Remember in elementary school when they broke you up? You remembered even names of reading groups, Kim. Turtle and Owl. That was funny. Yeah.
Yep. Or even sometimes in public or private schools, classrooms, they have entire pull-out sort of hours where kids go to a separate room for that special attention, the SPED classes. And so again, the homeschool is perfectly fine. But there are sometimes that you might do things like your child may need extra help in math, but not necessarily reading. So you can really fine tune. Even in the classroom myself, all sorts of experience that we've had. I didn't have it quite maybe as much as possibly a public school. I was working in a private school, but I was still allowed, air quotes, to make these modifications. So I think I talked once before about a little girl that had trouble with spelling. Actually, I had several kids like this. And while the rest of the class was learning 20 new words a week, 25 if they wanted to do the bonus words, this poor little girl was struggling to just get one or two right. I pulled her aside and I said, hey, what if we just focus on this shorter list and you only work on these words? And here's a couple different ways that you can practice. And let's just celebrate every word that you spell correctly this week. And we were in cahoots on it, and it was very fun. We made it a positive thing. So even in the classroom, again, we're doing this as teachers, perfectly fine to change things up for your kids at home.
And very empowering for your student, because there's nothing shameful in her ability or inability to spell, how she's wired. Yes, you want to challenge them,
Sure.
but you gave her the beauty and the safe space to really learn well and celebrate what she's capable of.
Just
Isn't that,
yeah,
yep. Isn't that what we love to do as parents anyway? Help celebrate the beauty of our child.
absolutely.
So let's break it apart into input and output like we did for accommodations. As far as input, what they are learning may either be on a different grade level, or for some severe disabilities, it may be best not even to think about a grade level. You're just thinking about progress. Don't even compare them to what other third graders might be learning. Don't even think about it at that level. Think about it as, look at this. We have moved from the sound of the letters to actually being able to put a few small words together. They could be 10. It doesn't matter. You're moving forward in progress. And truthfully, as homeschoolers, all we have to do is show progress or where our kid was and what they have grown in during the school year.
And that's what
And
I do with evaluations. So legally by law, I need to verify that children are making progress commensurate with their own ability. That's how the law reads. That's what I go in. And I certainly am able to talk to parents about, is this quote unquote grade level? And they often want to know, is my child behind and all of these things? We need to turn the conversation around a little bit and say, are they making progress? Let's start there. And then we can come in and address those other things. But yeah, it's absolutely legitimate to focus in that way.
but it's also paying attention to the expectations
Mhm.
of and the requirements of the material. Sometimes it's removing aspects of the material because it's too high of an expectation. You may get there in a year or two, but it's okay to lower the expectation and lower the requirements as long as you're still teaching and still learning. This is one way we get to love on our children, is to give them the gift of learning and give them the gift of education.
So we may cover the topics in a more general way. You may be teaching, maybe you're doing a unit study with your family on water, and one of your children is just a struggling learner. And maybe you focus more on water. H2O is water, or it's ice cubes, or it's water vapor, whatever. Whereas your other kids may go deeper into that chemically or whatever. So lots
Right.
of ways that you can make those accommodations or modifications, rather, even when you're working with a group.
Because
Depending on the time.
less is expected because you're honoring what their capability is, not because they're less than anybody else.
Right.
It's where they are capable. And it can be in different assignments. Like even with that water, instead of the whole water cycle, it's really understanding that water comes in three forms.
Mhm.
Whereas the others may have to understand the precipitation, condensation aspect of it.
Yes.
And that's okay. So it's
Mhm.
less material in a less complex manner.
Yes. And maybe even a different delivery, since we're talking about input.
Correct.
Maybe some kids are ready to read 17 books about it, and your other child is good with a 3-minute video. Really, you have the freedom to do that.
Welcome to Start Academy. We are an umbrella school that fulfills legal reporting requirements for homeschoolers in Colorado. But all of our services like transcripts, diplomas, IDs, and coaching are available no matter where you live. Don't forget to check out our store for homeschool essentials like attendance logs, planners, report cards, and DIY high school transcripts. Whether you need help with paperwork, planning, support, or guidance on your homeschool journey, Start Academy is here to support you. Visit theumbrellaschool.com to learn more.
I like the idea of think variety. An example in spelling could be see the word, say the word, trace the word on paper, trace the word in the air. This is one of your things, Kim. Write it in pudding or sand, write it using different colored pencils, clap when saying consonants, snap for vowels, sing it different ways. The variety, and again, we are whole body beings. So we do need things coming in a physical way even an emotional way, connecting it with story, like we said before with accommodations. Stories are still a great input
Yeah.
as modifications. And so that hits an emotional piece, a connectivity piece there. We need it repeated. And a modification sometimes is you're repeating it every day. You might get bored, but this is the beauty of a child too. They don't get as bored. Remember, how many times have you read the same story over and over again because your child asks you to? They're not bored. They're exploring the wonder and the consistency of the world. So by repetition, you're helping them understand those things.
Yeah. Even physically, sometimes if kids are having a hard time holding the pencil properly, say to do print to learn printing, or if they're a little bit older cursive, you can use the hand over technique and hold their
Mhm.
hand and guide their hand, their fingers and their arm as they make the motions to do the printing or the cursive. It really covers pretty much anything that we can talk about educationally, make those
Mhm.
modifications.
And even with that, it's still okay that they're tracing your own handwriting or the handwriting books that have the letters. It's okay to do that, to give them the whole sense, because again, you're building in them confidence. And if they don't feel confident, they are not going to try something new. So if you need to stay on something longer so that even though they get it, you're building their confidence in it, that they're capable and they can do it faster each time, that's okay. Because then they'll be ready for a next step, because then you get to say, look at how well you did that, and build up and encourage and celebrate what they have accomplished so that they're a little more willing to risk something new. And always celebrate those accomplishments.
Joy of it. Absolutely. Moving on to output, it's much the same as we mentioned under accommodations. You can have the conversations at the dinner table. Instead of taking a paper test, you can have oral tests, things like that. You can give shorter assignments or tests in general. Like we talked about assigning only 3 or 5 spelling words instead of everybody else in your family is learning 10 or 20. And that's perfectly fine. And then any kind of hands-on projects, maybe they draw a picture for you instead of writing a story. You can absolutely do that.
There are some, again, we have to remember that we do have students that we have in the homeschool that have severe disabilities, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental disabilities, and use whatever assistance necessary for their disability. For someone who is blind, you're going to rely heavily on audiobooks. You'll probably want to teach them Braille. I'm not well versed in that dynamic of education, but those are things that you're going to teach them life skills. You're going to have to modify all of the material for that lack of visual ability. Again, this is always never saying someone who has one of these disabilities is less than anybody else, because each one is beautiful and unique and is going to impact the world in a very different way. And their ability and their struggle are part of the beauty that they get to impact the world with. We've talked about that some will need wheelchairs, so they're never going to have the same output in a sports team, right? They're not going to do it, but they may be able to do wheelchair basketball. We don't know. These are the things that maybe you can expose them to and learn about and connect with other people, other groups that do have a student that is also struggling in a physical, mental, or emotional ability that your student is as well. We do know there are things like the AAC tablets. Those are augmented and alternative communication devices. Kim, do you want to explain more about that?
Yeah, it looks basically like a tablet, and there are photos on there. The child can point to the photos to express their understanding of whatever it is that you're talking about. I worked with a child one time where they were learning their colors. And so the mother would say, point to the color yellow, and the child would think about it and work real hard and point to the color yellow as very exciting, or learning letters or point to the cat, things like that. So they're very helpful, very well known, and something to look into if you need that support.
It's also beautiful because there's no one size fits all when it comes to education, when it comes to anything really in humanity, because we all read and write and reason with different abilities. So again, we're progressing forward and we're doing everything we can to help our child learn in the way that they can learn and with the material that works best for them, that also helps them understand the world around them and how they have a place in it.
That's right. So while we can't address every single way or need for accommodations or ways to modify your teaching, at Statheros, we do have a fabulous team of coaches who would love to work one-on-one with each of you to help you best meet the needs of your beautifully blessed child. Please don't hesitate to reach out for help, because we love talking about homeschooling. We love helping. We love supporting you.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. We hope that you enjoyed the conversation and found it insightful. Be sure to check out today's show notes for all applicable links and additional resources. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. Your support helps us continue to bring you great content. Until next time, happy homeschooling.